This show just keeps getting crazier and crazier. We're on MobLand, season 1, episode 4. Episode's called Rat Trap. And I have to also say, this show has one of the best intro theme songs I've heard in a while. It's a no skip, and I don't think it's an original song that was made for the show. I think it was a song that already existed. I forget the name. It's called like Star or Burster or something. But the intro was always hype. It's just so good. So the episode starts off with Conrad. He's out with a dog. I think he was like fishing or something, and he gets a call. He goes back to the house to tell Maeve, because at the end of the last episode we saw that Archie's body got dug up because someone tipped him off. And Conrad gets suspicious because only the people who were there that night when he shot Archie, like, obviously know like what happened. Obviously Maeve is up in his ear, which we find out at the end of the episode that she is pulling all the strings, like I was saying, but it was clear as day. Like, there's no way you couldn't tell that. And so Maeve is like in Conrad's ear and Pierce Brosnan's ear, and she's like, you know, it's got to be Harry. Oh my god, I'm gonna get canceled. Holy shit. Because Conrad goes, it's either me or Harry. Like, we're the only two that know where the body was put. We're the only ones that knew that we threw the body in another coffin because we have a guy down at the morgue who lets us do that. And so she convinces him kind of off screen that it's probably Harry that does it. And so they send someone after Harry. They sent this guy named Benny or something. And the dude walked into this auto shop. This guy was asking for Harry, saying he's got good news for him, which I'm assuming meant he was going to like shoot him or something. Because now that Maeve convinced Conrad that Harry is a rat, I don't know if fully convinced. Because Conrad's like, no, like, it's not Harry. There's no way it's not Harry. He doesn't want to believe it because he's right. It's not Harry. She's got his balls so fucking ripped that he can't make his own decisions anymore. Like, she runs the whole thing, and that's kind of her motivation. So let's jump to that real fast. So Maeve was the one who pushed Eddie to kill Tommy and do the whole thing. She says, she's like, we got everyone where we want them. As I predicted, she's controlling everything. And her reasoning is basically like, the rival family that Ritchie runs, they're making moves, they're making money, they're making big business, decisions. And Conrad's kind of just chilling. He was just out with a dogfish, and he's kind of like retired. He's not retired, but he's like acting like it. He's just sitting at home drinking his tea and walking his dog and just doing nothing. And so she's mad, and she's trying to get everyone out of the way so she can take over and start making more money and stuff like that. So that's her motivation. And Eddie's kind of just like, if your grandma was kind of coercing you into stuff like that when you were young, you'd probably go through with it. I don't know. Because, he murdered a guy. He stabbed a guy 60 times, and he has no remorse. So this guy is like, fits right into the family. So that was like the main reveal for the episode, was Maeve revealing her intentions. So with that out of the way, we also have Jan, which is Tom Hardy, Harry's wife, who is obviously feeling neglected because he's always out doing other things for the Harrigans. And she even talks about this in therapy because she's been going to couples therapy by herself because Harry never shows up. And like, when she's in therapy, she's like being vague. She's like, like, Harry has this family, and then he has this other family that he works for. She doesn't really go into detail, but she's like, he prioritizes their problems over ours, and she just feels neglected in her relationship, of course, which she should. And they also have a daughter, and of course she's not really around much. She's just doing her own thing because Harry's never there. He's like moving them around when the stuff keeps going down. Even at one point, just like at first, it's like he comes to this boat where they're like hiding out on, and she's like, where were you? Where did you sleep last night? And he's like, I didn't sleep, but I've just been working. And he's like being vague, and he's like, why don't you go up to the deck and just sit in the sunshine, and I'll make you some tea. And then he goes up there and brings the tea, but then he lays out basically everything that's happened episode 1 through 3, like beat for beat. Tells her everything, doesn't leave anything out. Well, she was saying how they have 3 rules when they first started dating, and one of them was, I don't want to know what happens when you're at work, because that's your work and this is separate. And she obviously knows what he does and what it entails, but she even says she doesn't really agree with it, but she just puts up with it. But I'm sure she'll end up leaving him. So someone was watching Jan as she was leaving therapy in the car, and the dude calls Conrad and tells him like where she's going. And then Jan texts her friend and meets up with her for like some coffee at their apartment because on the boat, Jan says she wants to go home, and Harry's like, all right, and then they go back home. That's why they're back there. So they're there just drinking tea, having girl time. And then Conrad shows up. Basically, he's an intimidation to Jan because I don't know if he knows that she's in therapy yet, but maybe he does because he was like, you're not talking to anyone else about our family or about Harry or what he does or whatnot. She's like, no. Deflecting, and then he does a real creep move and he aggressively grips her thigh, just rubbing it. He's like, ask me what we have in common, huh? It's like, ask me. She's like, what? He's like, we both love Harry. And he's basically telling her, he's like, don't leave Harry. He needs you. I don't know. In a way, it probably feels like it's like, if you leave Harry, you're gonna die. That's kind of what it felt like. It was definitely a threat. So eventually Conrad leaves, and then Harry comes home, and Jen's being vague because Conrad told her not to say anything to him. But she does anyway. Tom Hardy's just like, fuck. He's like, once Conrad gets going, he gets going. So that means shit's gonna be going down even more. Harry gets a call from Ritchie. Ritchie says to meet him at some place at midnight. Harry calls Conrad, tells him the location, but then Harry says that they want just him to go. So that makes Conrad a little suspicious, even more. Harry gets there, finds out that Haljon is still alive, the guy who chopped up Tommy. And Ritchie basically was like, something doesn't feel right. And he tells Harry to basically finish him off to prove, prove something. Yeah, he said something in the story is not adding up. And he said, I like you, Harry, and I'm going to listen to you. So he said, I want you to take care of this for me. I guess he has a little test, and he hands Harry a gun. They open the door to where Haljon is, and this dude's messed up. He's probably already almost dead anyway. He's so messed up. And then Harry, he's like, oh, he hands the gun back to him. He steps on a wood plank, picks up a wood stake, and he goes up to Haljon, and he stabs him 20 times. He just goes crazy on him. He throws it down. He walks out. He's like, Ritchie, I'm gonna clean that up for you. And he's like, no, it's okay. And she's like, no, really, I'm gonna clean it up for you. You got a bathroom. Just, he's gotta keep playing it, right? And then later, once he leaves, he's in the car. He calls Kevin, his brother, and basically tells him that Ritchie bought the story about Haljon and everything. And then the final thing that happens is that he reveals that Ritchie wants the Harrigans to show up to Tommy's funeral. And that's where the episode ends. So this show is just, every week is just getting crazy. I mean, it's already been crazy, but we still have 6 more weeks to go, and there's just so much stuff's already happened. Yeah, overall the show's just hitting right now, Right now I feel like it's sitting at a 4 out of 5, Between the actors, the acting, the writing, the story, the intro music, and just the regular score in general, it's just really good. So the show overall is just great. So comment down below, what do you think of this episode? What do you think about the show? Do you like, comment, subscribe? Peace.